I want to take you down memory lane for a little bit. I so much tonight wanted to talk about Brother Pitts and Stuart Coleman and Harry Miller and Charlie Trigg and all those guys in my era of things that they had done, of things that they had accomplished, and how Brownwood had been promoted. But I got to looking back, and there's 4 monumental things that have happened in Brownwood in my lifetime that's made an impact. And had it not been for the first one, I don't know if we would have been here tonight at all. And that has to be Camp Bowie. In 1938, Wendell Mays and Charlie Woodson were 2 of the smartest people that I've ever met. They were able to read the news and figure out that we were fixing to go back to war in Europe to protect Britain. And so they have some real good contacts in Washington as well as in Austin. So they got Brownwood's name on a list of potential campsites. So in either late 1939 or early 1940, Camp Bowie was started. And Ann Watson Schaefer, your daddy told me one time the exact day, and of course I had forgotten it. But when Camp Bowie got started, it meant a new era for this particular area of Texas. Now, the whole United States was in depression. People were getting, for a 10-hour day's work, getting $1 for field hands and for hired help. Women were getting 75 cents, and kids were getting 50 cents a day, and they were from camp to camp every day. And so when the camp came in, they started hiring carpenters, plumbers, electricians, bulldozer operators, maintenance operators, maintainer operators, and the farm people and the ranch people, because we were an agricultural society in Brown County. So they flocked to the camp to fill those jobs, and they were making a fortune. You know, $2, $2.50, $3, $4, $5 a day instead of the $1. And so the depression was over in Brown and adjacent counties when the camp came to Brownwood. Now, surprise, we were prepared to go to Europe to fight this war. The 36th Division was called up, was mobilized here at Camp Bowie. And then on December the 7th, 1941, the Japanese went crazy and bombed Pearl Harbor. So that meant we were going to have to fight a war in the Pacific, and we were going to have to fight a war in the Atlantic at the same time. Now, the war came to conclusion in August and September of 1945. And with it came the downgrade of the camp as the guardsmen, the survivors, returned to their homes. And when they did, it freed up all that property out there. Immediately, the government agency in charge started returning the farm and ranch land to the people that they'd taken that land from. Now, the camp started on Adams Branch, and it ended on the Colorado River, bound on the left by the Richmond Springs Highway, bound on the right by the Brady Highway. And so that was the maneuver area, and the cantonment area was inside of the access road, starting at the Brady Highway and ending over on Indian Creek Run. So the camp was here. It broke the back of the Depression. We fought 2 wars. We won both wars. And now the camp was being shut down. A few years passed, and some other people, and I don't know the 3 names involved, said that we've got to get industry into Brownwood. We need to organize the Brownwood Industrial Foundation. 3 men met and were willing to put up $20,000 apiece. And this is about 1957, 1958. And that was a lot of money. And they said, let's go each get one to put up 10, and they'll get 6 of us involved. And they did that. And then the 6 came back together, and they opened the floodgates, and 60 individuals in Brownwood signed on to the Brownwood Industrial Foundation. And at that time, then they started working with a government agency that was in control of the camp to auction off all of that property out there. When it's over with, the Industrial Foundation owned over 200 acres of prime real estate for development of industry. Now, Texas Power and Light, Lone Star Gas, the telephone company, everyone was involved in trying to promote businesses to come in. So now we move forward to 1963, and the Chamber of Commerce and the Industrial Foundation and all the business people thought that we had three of them on the hook, only to find out that the bait had been stolen. But a guy by the name of Ben Barnes, who was our state representative at that time, had an idea about putting that deal together. And he put it together, and three of them announced in the latter part of 1963 that they were coming to Brownwood. In 64, they built the plant, and in 65, they started hiring. So next year will be their golden anniversary of being in Brownwood. Now we have utilization of that property out there. They started selling it to smaller companies to do business, and the Industrial Foundation, it was a success. Now, along about 1960 in the summer, the Brownwood Independent School District hired a guy by the name of Gordon Wood, who had a friend by the name of Morris Southall, and a big old lanky boy by the name of Pete Murray. They came to Brownwood, and lo and behold, by the end of that year, we had a state championship football team, and the town became euphoric. It was the greatest, it was the greatest liniment that you could put on a soul. Instead of being deadbeat and downtrodden about the way things are going in this community, things had perked up. So in 1963, the city council made a move to find a new type of facility for assemblies, for conferences, for meetings, for dinners, for all types of events. Sitting on this property and adjacent to it was the Soldiers and Sailors Hall. It was built about 1921-22 as a memorial for World War I soldiers and sailors. In May of 1958, a big thunderstorm came through, if you can believe it. Lightning hit that building, and the next morning the only thing left was ash. So this committee was formed under Mayor Lee Lamb. Well, it was under Bill Carpenter at the time. And the chairman of this Suggestions for a Convention Center was Wendell Mays. The committee was Bill Monroe and George Alcorn, Lee Watson, Jack Miller, Bob Galvin, and Dr. Paul Wheelis. And Jack Miller is the only survivor off that Coliseum board. Now they presented finally to the city council what they thought the community would need. The council was taken with it. They sent it out to a few architects for them to give them artist renderings of what would be the appearance of a building as described by this committee. And a guy by the name of Frank Dill was the architect that was selected because he had the imagination to build this building so that all types of events, save except the rodeo, could be held in this place. Herman Bennett and Harry Forbes became the general contractors, and the building was completed in 1963, and next year will be his 50th anniversary. And this community was, when Dale did the drawings, he thought that the construction price for the building would be $750,000. A bond issue was immediately called for and passed, and then the construction did begin. And at another time frame, another venue, I would like to tell you about how this building was put up. It was phenomenal how it was done. People from all over the country were coming in to watch it being put up. Now, we had the camp, we had the Industrial Foundation, and we had the Coliseum completed, and we had a new attitude in Brownwood. Now, some people got to looking around and said, you know, we're going to have this place fixed up one of these days, but we need one more thing. We had a medical arts hospital over here next to Texas State Training Center, and had a hospital out on Coggin, Memorial Hospital. Both of them were owned by separate sets of doctors. If you were their patient and you happened to go to the hospital, you'd either be put in medical arts or you'd be put in Memorial. And this had to change. We had to come together and build a hospital. And so at that time, a group of people were formed to come up with the plans on how to go about doing it. They had to negotiate with all these doctors to get them to agree to one hospital. On the original board was Seal Cutbirth, MD, Dr. Braswell Locker, Dr. Fred Spencer, Dr. J.B. Stevens, Joe Weatherby, Lee Watson, William R. Stricker, Wendell Mays again, and David Christie. And they negotiated and got Brownwood Regional Hospital up and running and open in 1969. So the community was complete. Now, in the year 2000, a group of our young leaders went to Austin to meet with GDS&M. Royce Spence graduated from high school here in the early 1960s. By the time he graduated from the University of Texas, he formed a partnership with 4 people that he was graduating with. They established a business model, their goals, the directions they wanted to go, and they named it GDS&M. They called Roy and he set up time for them to come down to Austin to visit with him. They went down and told him we need some sort of an activity in Brownwood that would gather a lot of people. And before the day was over, he had suggested the Brownwood Reunion Celebration, had suggested the advertising schemes, the placards, the billboards, everything was going to be needed. All they had to do was come back and put it into action. And as they left, one of his employees says, you know, Brownwood feels like home. And Brownwood does feel like home.